Can a machine actually think like a chef? I mean, is that even possible?
Well, it's a question that's got people talking, that's for sure.
It sounds like something out of science fiction. But that's exactly what we're diving into today, this whole world of computational gastronomy.
Yeah, where food meets AI.
Exactly. We're going to be looking at some cutting-edge research, a paper by Ganesh Bagler and Mansi Goel. They're from the Indraprastha Institute of Information Technology, Delhi, or I-Day Delhi.
They're doing some really interesting work in this field.
Okay, so before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with the basics. What exactly is computational gastronomy?
It's kind of like looking at food through a data-driven microscope.
Okay, I like that. So it's not just about robots in the kitchen, it's about using data to understand food on a much deeper level.
Right. We're talking about blending food science with data analysis and computer programming to unlock all sorts of possibilities. Like, imagine AI creating brand new recipes, the kind of dishes no one's ever tasted before.
That's pretty wild. So how does that even work?
Well, it all starts with data. The paper mentions this incredible resource called RecipeBee, a massive database with over 118,000 recipes from 74 countries.
Wow. You could explore cuisines from all over the world with that.
You could, and that's exactly the kind of resource that can be used to train AI. It's like giving the AI a culinary textbook.
So by analyzing all those recipes, the AI learns the patterns of what makes a recipe work.
Exactly. Which is key for that whole Turing test idea we'll talk about later.
Okay.
Can an AI actually fool a chef into thinking a recipe was created by a human?
Okay, I'm intrigued. So RecipeDB is like the foundation, but what other kinds of resources are out there?
Oh, there's so much cool stuff. There's this database called FlavorDB, which analyzes the flavor profiles of over 900 ingredients, like down to the molecular level.
So it's breaking down taste into its basic building blocks.
Yeah, and researchers are using it to understand flavor pairings in a more precise way. They can even predict the taste of new dishes before anyone even cooks them.
That's mind-blowing. But it's not all about flavor, right? What about nutrition?
Oh, absolutely. The paper also talks about SpiceRx and DietRx, which focus on the health impacts of different ingredients.
So you could potentially get personalized nutrition recommendations based on your specific needs.
Exactly. And then there's Sustainable Food DB, which explores the carbon footprint of different recipes, helping us make more environmentally friendly choices.
It really seems like computational gastronomy has the potential to address some major issues in our food system.
It does. And one thing the paper really emphasizes is that food is a complex system. It goes way beyond just the ingredients on a list.
Right. It's about culture, history, geography, all those things wrapped up in what we eat.
Exactly. A recipe is like a time capsule, a snapshot of a culture. And that complexity affects every aspect of food, from flavor to nutrition to sustainability.
So how does that complexity play out when we're talking about flavor, for example?
Well, the taste of a dish doesn't just come from dumping ingredients together, right? It's about the interplay of flavor molecules and how they change during cooking.
So there's actual chemistry happening when we cook.
Oh yeah, big time. And then there's nutrition, which is so much more than just counting calories.
Right. It's about how all those different components interact once they're inside our bodies.
Exactly. And then sustainability. The environmental impact of food goes way beyond the ingredients themselves. It's about the entire journey of that food from farm to fork.
Okay, so we've got this whole new field of computational gastronomy, using data and AI to analyze flavors, personalize diets, and make food more sustainable. But can a machine actually think like a chef? I mean, how do we even measure that?
Well, researchers at iDelhi developed an AI called, get this, Ratatouille.
Ratatouille! Like the movie.
I know, right? That's a fun name for some serious science. And this AI can generate completely new recipes.
So it's not just copying existing recipes, it's coming up with new ones on its own.
Exactly. And it does this by learning from huge amounts of data.
Okay, but how does it actually work? I'm picturing a little rat controlling things behind the scenes, but I'm guessing it's a bit more complicated than that.
Yeah, no rats involved, thankfully. But it does use something called GPT-2, a powerful type of artificial intelligence.
Okay, and what does GPT-2 do?
Well, it's really good at understanding language.
Yeah.
But for Ratatouille, the language it's learning is recipes.
Ah, so it's analyzing all those recipes in the database and figuring out the structure, the patterns, the way ingredients work together.
Right. And it uses something called named entity recognition to pick out the important parts of a recipe, like the ingredients, cooking methods, flavor profiles. It's like it's reading a cookbook and highlighting all the key details.
That's incredible. But how do we know if it's any good at creating recipes? I mean, is it just spitting out random combinations of ingredients, or is there something more to it?
That's where the Turing test for chefs comes in. The researchers at 8 Deli wanted to see if an AI-generated recipe could actually fool professional chefs into thinking a human created it.
Okay, so if an AI can write a recipe that's basically indistinguishable from a human-written one, does that mean it's thinking like a chef? That seems like a pretty high bar.
It is a high bar, and there's a lot of debate about what it really means for a machine to think. But before we dive into that philosophical rabbit hole, let me tell you a bit more about how they actually designed this Turing test for chefs. So picture this. You got this classic Turing test, right? It's all about whether a machine can convince a human that it's also human.
Like if you're chatting online and you can't tell if it's a person or a bot?
Exactly.
Okay.
But how do you apply that to cooking? Well, Bagler and Goel, they got a group of 24 professional chefs together.
Okay, so we're talking about people with years of experience, finely tuned palates. This is a tough crowd.
No kidding. And they showed each chef a mix of real human-written recipes and recipes generated by Ratatouille.
So like a blind taste test, but for recipes? I'm hooked. What happened?
Well, they asked each chef to rate each recipe on a scale from 0 to 5. 0 being totally fake, 5 being definitely authentic.
Did the AI fool them?
It did. Well, some of the time. The study got what's called an F1 score of 69.88%, which means it's pretty darn good at mimicking human-created recipes.
Wait, so almost a third of the chefs weren't fooled. Does that mean the AI isn't really thinking like a chef?
That's a great point. Passing the Turing test, even with a good score, doesn't automatically mean the AI is thinking the way we do, right?
Right, like it could be really good at recognizing patterns and spitting out something that looks like a recipe, but not really understanding the why behind it.
Exactly, like the flavor combinations, the cultural influences, all of that. It might not be grasping those deeper levels.
Okay, so maybe it's not thinking in the way we do, but still fooling professional chefs even some of the time. That's pretty impressive.
It really is, and it opens up some exciting possibilities. Imagine personalized meal plans based on your exact dietary needs and preferences, all generated in seconds.
That would be incredible. No more spending hours searching for recipes.
And think about the potential for sustainability. What if AI could help us design recipes that are delicious? A&D have a low carbon footprint.
We're talking about using AI to tackle some of the biggest challenges in our food system. This is getting me really excited.
I know, right? But it gets even cooler. The researchers, they didn't stop at just having chefs read the recipes. They took it a step further and actually did taste tests.
Whoa! They cooked the AI's recipes. That's putting it to the ultimate test.
They wanted to make sure these recipes weren't just good on paper, but actually led to tasty food.
Okay, so spill the beans. Did the AI recipes pass the taste test?
Well, they're still analyzing all the data. But early feedback suggests that a lot of the dishes were surprisingly good.
So the AI isn't just spitting out random ingredient combinations. It's actually generating recipes that lead to delicious food.
It seems that way, which shows the AI is capable of more than just mimicking existing recipes. It can actually come up with novel and tasty combinations, which is a huge step forward.
This is making me think about all the ways this could change how we interact with food. What other potential uses are there for this kind of tech?
Imagine having an AI kitchen assistant that could walk you through every step of cooking, offering personalized tips based on your skill level.
That would be a game changer. No more frantically Googling how to dice an onion in the middle of a recipe.
Or how about AI-powered grocery shopping apps that create your list based on your dietary needs and budget, even suggesting recipes based on what you already have in your fridge?
No more impulse buys or wasted food. And this could revolutionize the food industry too, right?
Absolutely. AI could help optimize food production, reduce waste, and even personalize products to match individual tastes and nutritional needs.
It's like something out of a sci-fi movie. AI sommeliers recommending wine pairings for AI-generated meals, robots that can perfectly recreate your grandma's secret recipes.
The possibilities are pretty much endless. But for now, let's come back down to earth a little bit and talk about something else the paper highlights. Food as a complex system.
Right, we touched on this before, but I need a refresher. What exactly does it mean to view food as a complex system?
Well, think of a complex system as something with lots of interconnected parts, all interacting in unpredictable ways, kind of like an ecosystem.
So with food, it's not just about the individual ingredients. It's about how those ingredients interact with each other, the cooking process, even the environment where the food is grown.
Exactly. And when we look at food this way, we start to see all these intricate factors that influence the flavor, the nutritional value, even the environmental impact.
Can you give me some concrete examples of how this complex systems approach is actually being used in computational gastronomy?
Sure, one example is flavor networks. Researchers are using network theory to analyze the relationships between flavor molecules, how they all work together to create the taste of a dish.
So it's like mapping out the flavor landscape of a recipe. That's fascinating.
It is. And by understanding those relationships, they can discover surprising new flavor combinations that might never have been found otherwise.
Whoa, that could lead to a whole new world of culinary experiences. I bet this kind of analysis could also be applied to nutrition.
You bet. Our bodies are complex systems too, right? Computational gastronomy is being used to design personalized nutrition plans that take into account not just individual nutrients, but how they all interact with each other inside us.
That makes so much more sense than just focusing on calories or macros. It's about the bigger picture of how food affects our health.
Exactly. And this complex systems thinking can even be applied to sustainability. We talked about the Sustainable Food DB, but how can we use this approach to understand the environmental impact of food on a deeper level?
Well, it helps us see that it's not just about the ingredients themselves, but about the whole journey of that food, how it was grown, how far it traveled, how it was processed.
By looking at food as a system, we can pinpoint the areas where we can make the biggest positive impact in terms of reducing our environmental footprint.
This is really eye-opening. It's like everything we do with food, from growing it to eating it, is part of this incredibly complex web of interconnected systems. And computational gastronomy gives us the tools to start understanding and navigating those systems.
And hopefully, to create a food future that is more sustainable, healthy, and delicious for everyone. But as with any new technology, there are some important ethical and societal implications to consider.
That's a really important point. We've been talking about all the exciting possibilities, but what are some of the potential downsides?
Well, one concern is access and affordability. Will these AI-powered tools and personalized nutrition plans be available to everyone, or will they only benefit those who can afford them?
It's like with any new technology, we have to make sure it's used to reduce inequities, not make them worse.
Absolutely. And what about the impact on traditional culinary knowledge and practices? Will we lose some of the art and human touch in cooking if we rely too heavily on AI?
It's like we need to find a balance, right? Embrace the possibilities of AI while also preserving the cultural and social importance of food and cooking.
It's a tightrope walk for sure.
Yeah.
We need to be really thoughtful about how we integrate AI into the world of food.
Definitely. And speaking of integration, we've been focusing on AI in the kitchen, but what about the impact on the food industry as a whole? Like, if AI can develop recipes, plan meals, even help us shop, what happens to the people who currently do those jobs?
That's a big one. Technology can be amazing, but it can also disrupt the job market. We have to be aware of that.
Right. So how do we make sure people aren't left behind in this AI-powered food revolution?
Well, I think it's about creating opportunities for people to adapt. As AI takes on certain tasks, we need to make sure workers have the chance to learn new skills and transition into new roles.
So maybe instead of viewing AI as a job killer, we can see it as a catalyst for new kinds of jobs within the food industry, jobs that we can't even imagine yet.
Exactly. Jobs that require creativity, problem solving, human connection, the things AI can't replicate.
It's all about finding that balance, right, between leveraging the power of AI and preserving the human element.
Absolutely. And all this talk about AI and food has really got me thinking about what food is on a fundamental level. Like, if AI can create recipes that are indistinguishable from human-created ones, does that change how we view cooking?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, is cooking just a set of instructions that a machine can follow? Or is it something more, an art form, an expression of culture and heritage?
Those are big questions.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a simple answer. But I do believe that human chefs will always bring something unique to the table, something that AI can't quite replicate.
It's that passion, that intuition, that ability to adapt and improvise in the moment. It's the love and care that goes into creating a meal for someone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
AI might be able to generate recipes, but it's human chefs who breathe life into those recipes and make them truly special.
It all comes back to that human element, which makes me think, as we keep exploring computational gastronomy, we have to remember that technology is ultimately a tool. It's up to us to decide how we use it.
Will we use it to create a food system that's more efficient, sustainable, equitable? Or will we let it exacerbate existing problems? Disconnect us from the cultural and emotional aspects of food?
It's a choice we have to make, both individually and as a society.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We started with a question: can a machine think like a chef? And honestly, I think we've come up with more questions than answers.
That's the beauty of exploration, right? We've delved into the science behind AI chefs, the possibilities of personalized nutrition and sustainable food systems, and even the philosophical questions about food and cooking in this AI-driven world.
It's been an incredible journey. And as this field keeps evolving, we need to keep these conversations going. It's crucial to think critically about what we want the future of food to look like.
Absolutely. So to our listeners, we want to hear from you. Do you think AI can truly think like a chef? What are your hopes and concerns about this AI-powered food future?
Let us know on social media. Maybe we can even do a follow-up episode based on your questions and thoughts.
And in the meantime, don't stop exploring. Check out those resources we mentioned, like RecipeDB and FlavorDB, and see what insights you can uncover.
Yeah, maybe even try out some AI-powered cooking tools in your own kitchen. You might be surprised at what you can create with a little help from technology.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of computational gastronomy. It's been a delicious adventure.